oh. No, I'm good. Can you hear me? I said, can you hear me? Right. Right. No, I'm good. Probably so. Yeah, right, right. You gotta give me a minute. I just got in. No, my flight got in. I got here about like 3. Yeah, I didn't get a chance to answer my email. I was on the plane. Yeah, most of them. Okay. Yeah, most of them we did. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Most of them it'll be fine. And then that'll be Saturday as well. Yep, I'll be there Saturday as well. Oh, I'm live right now. I'm on all my platforms. Yep. Yep. All right. All right. Peace. 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 Everybody. Give me a second, man. I'm waiting for a couple people to tap in. We gonna have a good conversation real fast. If time permits us, we're gonna speak on 2 topics. We're gonna speak on 2 topics today. But I'm gonna talk about this psychotherapy I do with the youth and with adults. But I came back to my city of Flint. Like I said, I have my own youth ministries, mentor ministries here in Michigan called Ascend Mentor Ministries. And I got a grant, so I had to come back, had to fly back here and fulfill that. But I got a couple, excuse me, I'm sorry, I just got done eating. But I'm gonna have a couple college students working with me to help them with their work study. And also, I'm gonna talk about law governs all events. But we got some good stuff to talk about today. So peace to everyone, peace and love. If you're here for negativity, this is not the place. Please exclude yourself. And if you like the teachers, man, this is how we build our platform. You like it, man, and give it a thumbs up and share it if you don't mind. If you don't mind, at least you can like it and share it and thumbs up, you know, because that's how we get this message spread. If you like the teachings, if you come here consistently, at least like it, man, and give me some thumbs up. If you don't like it, just exclude yourself and I'm gonna block you because this is not the time to be negative with each other, especially on social media. This is not the time for us to be disrespecting each other today with all the things that's going on in the world. This is not the time. So if you're here for any negativity, please exclude yourself. Dang, hold on, y'all. I know he was gonna call. You just called me. Now you're not answering. But once again, man, if you're not here to learn, if you're here to play and be a troll, please exclude yourself, man. Because I'm not here for games. I hope you're not here for games. You know, we're not even here. We shouldn't even be operating like that as no hateful people, as no racist people, or no prejudiced people on social media. So once again, I just want to lay my ground rules. If you're not here to learn, if you're not here for righteousness, if you're here with some conspiracy theory stuff, man, please exclude yourself. Because I'm not going to respond to it. I'm going to block it. That's just it with me. We shouldn't even be going on with this. There's too much stuff going on in the world for people to be playing, you know, on social media. And so this is leading up to my speaking. So when I talk about an individual that's always playing, when I talk about an adult that's always playing, is something wrong with the mental. That's why I say I feel bad for the young kids and even the women that have a type of individual, a type of male that operate like that in real life. That's the psychosis of the mentality of a plethora of people. And the only people I'm gonna talk about is my melanated people. The psychosis of that for we and us to belittle ourselves and to be on social media disrespecting each other. Out of all the things misnomer BLACK people went through, and everybody talk about those lives matter. Man, we gotta love ourselves, man, and we should not let no one on social media disrespect us, especially if we elders like myself that's stamped and approved, and that can teach our kids, that can teach women, that can teach single men, that can teach them brotherhood, all science, and I'm educated and anointed, and I'm from both sides. So that make a difference. When people say, well, what's the difference? My background, my history. And when people see me, they like, yeah, you got a master's degree? Yeah. You got a bachelor's degree? Yeah. You have businesses? Yeah. That don't mean you're going to be a millionaire that fast. The business have to run us over. But that's what we do. We invest in ourselves. But yes, what's wrong with having an education? That's that misnomer black man thing, that mentality that done messed us up. And the average, how can I say, the attention span of our brothers is 15 minutes. They read on maybe a third grade level. And it's bragged upon to be, you know, uneducated. And then it's frowned upon because a person is choosing academia, or if a person is choosing a skill set. And the first thing we say, oh, you the WHITE man this. Man, that's the most asinine thing that could come out of our mouths. And out of anybody that's in this movement. Because the first thing you will say is you want your kid to be the best. You want your kid to get a good education, XYZ, all those things. You do. So if you do, why are you even on social media saying, this is the WHITE man stuff? And this science is supposed to come from you, from Timbuktu, from Salamanca, from Spain. What are we talking about? So I don't understand, you know, academia and wisdom and being educated and astute should be, why is it frowned upon in our community? I want to know that, because I don't think no one can explain that and not tell us. That's why we so behind. Why? Because we don't have a think tank. It's too many people out here, oh, I'm a this, I'm a that. Man, I don't care what you are. There's one nationality, many cultures. Don't you know, in all these places, they had a Hebrew. In Egypt, they had 2 Hebrew pharaohs. If you're a historian, you know these specific things. So it's nothing to argue about. So we shouldn't be arguing about over semantics, over a book that man put together. I'm talking about the psychosis. Think about it. Think about it. When I tell people, man, I say, have you read any other religious books about Jesus? Most of these Christian brothers have. And I say, have you read the Talmud? Nope. Do you know what the Napatan Library is? Nope. I say, well, man, it's hard to have a real intellectual conversation with a person that's just on a belief system, believing in things you can't prove. That's not science. It don't work like that. All this like it don't work like that. So the psychosis of us, when I say a type of therapy, works on all levels. Why? Because still today, when I deal with people, adults, they always talk about the past, and I say, well, a scar, scab, and a wound, and they say, well, what you mean, Sheik? And I say, a scar, scab, and a wound. What do you mean? A process of healing. So when people be saying therapy and this and that and the other, I say, listen, man, in a specific group of brothers, it should be a body. Now we talking about sound, we talking about brothers lifting each other up. It would, like how me and my brothers are nobles. All my brothers, we are nobles. Me, just as a map and a guide, I just have a specific skill set, just like you may have. It's just like when people say fisher of men and people say good leaders and good foremen per se, and all these characteristics of leading men to righteousness, man can have those things, and I have those things. If I didn't, I wouldn't have brothers rocking with me. If I didn't, I wouldn't be able to move how I'm moving and do things in my community. And people, and I don't have to spread it. I don't be running to the paper like, oh, put me in the paper. I bought 100 backpacks with all these kids' supplies. I don't do that, man. The people know what I do. Kids know what I do. You know? I done bought so many basketballs and rims, all that stuff for kids, out of my own pocket, under my own organization. Why? Because that's what I love to do. I don't have to go out to the clubs and all that. I kick it with my significant other and my family. So the things that I like to do is charity. And I tell people my life is charity. Everything I do is charity. Once this kick off, it's going to be nothing but charity. Why? Because that's my skill. I know how to help our people. I know what we need. I'm telling you, it's not hard. When it's done the right way, it's simple. I'm telling you, it's nothing but a mathematical equation. When it's done the right way, it's simple. How? Because that's how math works. We're talking about mathematics. And remember, if the heart is pure, then it's contingent on the people. And then when the people understand that they taxes in for the federal government, religious, charitable, scientific, educational wise, it's a wrap. And so this is how I tell y'all how kids get misdiagnosed. Now, I'm not, man, I might, no, I'm not going to say the names of the companies because I'll just say in general. When kids are going through like certain cares, like facilities and group homes and foster cares and things like that, it's not therapy that's going on. You know, let's just keep, I just wanted to sum it up to that. So a specific skill that I know works because I had the pleasure to, you know, use it as a synopsis. EMDR. And it's a style. It's a style of psychotherapy. Now watch this. Oh, that tea good. Now, when we talk about therapy, the first thing I always tell my brothers, you don't have to be embarrassed if things happen. I tell people, man, my brother was murdered. My baby brother, Akil Jelani Goodman Bay, was murdered, man. And so I didn't have to do a specific therapy per se, but I did my therapy, you know? And what I'm saying is, when we have brothers that may have similar things and things that may be, how can I say, common, and an individual was able to overcome those things and not only overcome them, but then go all the way and say, man, you know what? Regardless of everything I went through, I think I can educate myself. I'm already from West Pad. Like, I'm just saying, not like it mean nothing, but I'm saying I was able to go say, hey man, I'm right from where y'all at. I went through this. And so when I work in the facilities, the kids don't deal with me because I'm Mr. Goodman Bay. They don't deal with me like that. Because it's just like anything you dealing with, that got the same type of love for you, if things is going right, is gonna know that heart is pure. I'm telling you what I know. I done done it. Everybody on here that's melanated, with all due respect, and people that's not melanated, because a lot of my clients wasn't melanated. A++ rate. Why? Because it's a specific skill. A person can get all the degrees they want, but I'm talking about when we build in the body, and when you look at a plethora of men, and when you look at a society of men and women, a lot of the men and women still haven't overcome certain traumas, and the traumas haven't been talked about. Man, I know too many girls that was, when they were young. You know what I'm saying? The ladies know what I mean when I say that, and a lot of that been inside them, and vice versa. It's so many things, and it can be smaller than that, but smaller to our mind, because whatever the trauma is, it can be big to that person if it hasn't been dealt with. This is the type of counseling, or how can I say, conversing, that men and young men need to be around each other to bring them up as the rite of passage, like the young other nationalities have bar mitzvahs and things. You know what I'm saying? And I'm saying specifically for our males, of course, our young daughters, but like it's a type of, I just think it's a counseling, and I think the kids must be grabbed at a young age. And then not only grab, but engage. Because y'all remember Kwanzaa Kunjufu, you're right, in his books, Conspiracy to Destroy Black Boys and Girls. And one of my muftis, Dante Smith L., we did a little, back-to-back interview, because I spoke about that at GCU one day. And I just like, when I speak about things with students, that allow me to speak with them, hell, it'd be a pleasure. But then I just come back on here and speak it to y'all, you know? And so when we're talking about conspiracy to destroy black, boys and girls, and then we say, okay, well, how can we counter that? How can we counter that? What you mean? How can we, as I talk about myself, how can I counter that? It's easy. Engage. Like, that ain't even hard. I tell everybody, I say, you think, well, any of these young kids that can be grabbed at a young age and see brothers and actually have something for they can go to and look up to, that's not a problem. That's going to be a quick turn on. Why? Because infrastructure. Like, we should be able to hire our young men. That's why I tell people, I say, come on, man, now's the time. And so we have to, what I'm saying in my profession, and there's a lot of people that know me, you know what I mean, from my city, but the professionalism when it come down to healing and therapy, I'm telling you, it's just like you orangutan, right? And a zebra telling you, say, no, the way all y'all doing y'all thing is wrong. Or we're gonna diagnose you this way. Or we're gonna feed the polar bear what the grizzly bear eats. Like, a lot of things, I don't think we have a clue. And a lot of times, I think our kids get misdiagnosed because the parents don't really, spend that much time and that much money on their own into that than to anything else they'll do. And then when you look at that, to have someone good instead of just having them going through that cycle, because if anybody kid deal with that cycle, they done had different counselors left and right, because I know that field don't pay nothing. But make a long story short, to have somebody good and dynamic, especially when it's about something, especially when the parents should be about something, especially how we can take over communities and neighborhoods. That's what this is about. I keep telling people, like, this ain't just for kids. Like, my counseling ain't just for kids. My counseling for adults, for us to get to the next level, you know? So when I say that EMDR, it's like a eye movement, desensitization. It's like a reprogramming, you know? And so it's like 8 phases, of the treatment that you can go through. And man, I did this with a lot of youth, man. At the facility I used to work in Arizona, man, I was able to sit with a lot of kids and just talk to them about certain traumas and let them spell it out. But not spell it out not in a certain way, but in a way of healing. You know what I mean? And it's like I like to call it a 8 bullets, an 8 phase, you know? But like, for instance, say in phase 1, right? You ask questions concerning the problem. It might be family, school, vocational development, medical, right? Psychological, physical history, as we were talking earlier, and an idea to find out about all aspects, of that person, but letting them talk. How I know? Because I seen it. That's why I'm telling you, man. Like, I seen it. And those things take time. I'm telling you, man. It's just like, man, when these kids be in foster homes and they be having the idea of are they thinking they're going to get adopted, and I'm telling you, and I'm just telling, I work in the field. Man, I don't want to say 9 times because you would think I'm exaggerating. I'll just say 8 times out of 10, none of them kids getting adopted. With all due respect. With all due respect. And so, if that's the case, now when I'm talking about brotherhoods, and when I'm talking about just like institutions and, where most of our people go and gather, where when people say, well, how can it change? How can we grab the kids in the community? It's not hard. I'm telling you. But the face, what's going on, like, it's not being forced, which it should, right? Phase 2 is the preparation phase, so you can have the resources to tackle the problems. It's a intense study that you want to do, but when you and I don't want to say master it, but when you come into your own form of being able to do this with your people and being able to do this with your own family, or even just seeking someone out that know how to do that, I think it would be beneficial for not only the child, but for you as well. I'm telling you, I've seen kids, man, that's, autistic and be violent, right? And then after a while with me, it's no violence. And they be like, well, how? Because it's man, I'm trying to tell you, it's just like training. Just like if you're good at training, certain species, put it like that. And I'm not comparing that to that, but I'm using it as an analogy. In that context, it's just like that, per se. Not in the physical like that, but in that aspect, that's just how the cosmos work in that situation. Put it like that, from that understanding. So a person like myself and anyone with that characteristic can blossom in any of those situations. Why? Because how they are in that situation. That's what they're born to do. That's a mission. So you know how to handle yourself in all those type of situations where others may panic. You know what I mean? And it's not a slight to anyone. A lot of people have that gift, but I'm just pointing it out. Right? And so I've seen people with certain type of trauma, and things, and then we use a step and analyze the problem. Desensitization, so you can desensitize the situation. So remember, you got the subjective, those units of disturbance, which is they call a scale. The subjective, you can write this down, units of the disturbance scale, acronym SUDS, and the other is the validity of cognition scale, acronym VOC. The SUDs, the SUDs, help us measure the level of disturbance or discomfort with your problem, and the VOC helps us in that situation how to close and how close you are to your goals. So I always, with myself, when I do these type of things, it's always goals, and that's why I say you have to bring the good things out because it's good in everyone. You know, when I talk about this level of work, because nobody don't want to be a gangster. Some people learn, but if intervention can happen, then so be it. And when certain levels reach a certain level, when I'm doing the study, then we can know that you may be ready to move to the next phase, depending on the scales, depending on the reactions. And it's just a number system that you can, figure out when you're doing this type of research or when you're doing this synopsis on someone that you love or, if it's your profession. That's what you do. But you know that you can move on with the next situation, you know? And remember, I always tell people the pendulum swings the same way to the left as it does to the right. So depending on you, depending on what's going on, it can move slow or it can move fast, you know? And that ain't on me, you know? It depends on what you need to resolve that's difficult. That's why I tell everybody, like, I can't guarantee nothing. It's like, you have to understand what you're doing. That's why I tell everyone. I say, I don't care how many times a person read your tarot. It can mean total opposite. Why? Because that's how this science works. And nobody solicits nobody to read nobody. That's why I be telling people when people do that, I say, man, I'm talking about another level of psychosis. If people catching on, it's so many levels of these things. No person that's a seer or a medicine man, they don't solicit like that to read nobody tarot. You know, that's why I said it's different. You know, so you have these different phases. You know, you have a phase that is referred to as installation. If you ever heard of that, and in this context, you like to connect the positive cognition, the resource with whatever is left of the past problem, so that positive, context or that positive feeling is linked formally with the old problem. So when we're talking about, if you was in a different form of spirituality or ministry, I don't know if you are, but I use the analogy of a scar, a scab, and a wound. A person will be like, well, what you mean, Sheik? I say, it's a healing process. You know, it's a healing process. And if it's healed, I don't, if that process have healed, you can't be like, it still hurt. Why? Because we know and everybody know and it's healed. Is it a memory? Is it something that can have you overcome or make you don't do it again? Yeah. But it shouldn't be, you know what I mean? So it's an overcoming. And we glad that you did overcome that. And so in this context, what we're talking about is a process of what? Healing. That's what we're saying. So we have to understand that. I will hope. I will hope. And then like 6 levels, you can see, and use certain things and phrases to see if the body is uncomfortable, you know. All these things will be revealed. Why? Because this is how this work go, you know. You know. So you can check, with anyone that you're doing some good work for, the levels that can be handled, you know. So that's what I'm saying, man. Like from healing and dealing with all the material, that can be a cause of a situation, you know, to be able to handle these things in the right manner, you know. these are things that I'll be talking about. I said because there's way more other stuff going on in the world, but here I like to teach science, no matter if you agree with it. But like in my field and what I do, I tell people, man, it's like you have to be able to deal with things that happen, especially here in the United States of America. It's a problem because a lot of people haven't sat down with the right ones to be able to have those things come out the right way. And maybe sometimes, how can I say? Yeah, I can say it majority of the times. Majority of the times, people use social media for the wrong thing. You know, you know, when people be having, think about it. I told a sister one day. I said, look how many times you talking about you reading people tarets and this and that and the other. With all due respect, and your son need counseling and this and that and the other, and you got 3 boys and blah 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 blah, but you saying you a reader this and all that, and I saying your boys are struggling, and your boys are struggling, and you know how to read them tarot cards, ain't doing nothing for them boys. With all due respect, and I don't be trying to disrespect no one because I love everyone. But I said you can't have 3 boys and they ain't doing what they supposed to be doing, and you talking about you read some tarot. You know what I mean? They need to be under a certain discipline to see what the mental is all about before they be influenced the other way. This is what I'll be saying because that's what's happening. You know, I love my sexy empresses, whatever they be calling themselves. With all due respect, what I'm saying is, I think it's a type of mentoring that need to be really talked about, especially with the young men. I'm telling y'all on both levels, man, and just on both levels of how to survive. You know, you know, and even just how to survive. You know, it should be something. Hold on. That should be. I think that should be checked out, right? Hold on, I ain't mean to do that, y'all. I gotta send this book. I want to talk about one more thing before we get out of here. But yeah, man, I'm a. So I flew to Michigan, and so I'm gonna be working with the. I'm gonna be working with a. I'm gonna be working with this youth, and I'm gonna be volunteering my time, of course. I'm getting compensated for it. But what I be telling people, man, like on this social media, I'm sorry, y'all, I was trying to do 2 things. Forgive me. But I be trying to tell people, man, if you have the connections, if you know people, and the only reason why I say this, because my brother, my Mufti Malik, just came out here and visit me and my Empress for a solar return. Uh, for a solar return, and he was like, man, I don't know why we don't be linking up with like people on social media and all that. He was like the rest of them, caricatures be doing it XYZ. I was like, man, I don't know, but I really think, and just for the science, and things, and I think doing things the right way, because I don't think a lot of our brothers want to do things the right way. And one is what I was talking about, that type of healing, and even if it's not for you, even if you have a kid, a young man, like sometimes instead of someone else talking to them, the other man, with all due respect, I think you should. I think you should be able to be like, man, well, I'm a take care of that, and have this brother, or maybe, and I got another homie, my homeboy Julius, that's licensed from the state, but I do a different counseling. But like I said, we work together, because he got his own practice, so I help him. You know what I mean? Go to the places, talk to the youth, Should I like when I come home? I go to like a place called Thumb Correctional Facility. I've been all to the youth centers, and I do that on my own dime. Back in AZ, I done talked to a lot of schools, and I do certain things to where I get donations, and so I'm building it to be able to go and lecture in like they call things the student union. Yeah, like remember when Muhammad Ali was boxing and he got banned and he was lecturing at different universities, but you saw what universities he was going to, right? With all due respect, you saw what universities he was going to speak on, I'm sure. And it's no disrespect to no one else, but those are just facts, right? Right. So that type of what my brother say? Okay. Yeah, but that type of counseling, I always talk about it's a specific counseling called the EMDR counseling. And I don't want to stay too far in it, but it's the eye movement, you know, desensitization and and reprocessing. And like I said, it's a good skill, it's a good style to not only help, young children, but also help adults. I'm telling you, I know, especially brothers that, may not have a good handle on they children or their cousins or stuff like that. And I say maybe because we're not using all the help that we can have. I always tell brothers that, and they be like, "What you mean, Sheik?" I say, "Man, if you spending certain things on other things, which is you can do whatever you want to, that means that's more important than this." And I think things can be done in a better way. But I'm not the one to tell nobody what to do. That's why I always tell people I'm not the I'm not the last or nothing to be telling nobody what to do with the science. All I tell people is, look, nobody's gonna tell me how to operate in real life. No one's gonna tell my brothers, my muftis, how they can and can't operate in real life. Because all my brothers, we adults. All my brothers. All the states I go to where my brothers at, we real. So you'll never see me on no fugazi. You'll never see me telling you to fill out no forms, and everybody can stamp that. Everybody can say that. You'll never see me out here telling you you can magically become something. Never. None of that. None of that. Telling you to nationalize or denationalize. None of that. I've never done that. So we get that has to stand for something. That has to stand for something. And so when I talk about the science, I always tell people I'm not orthodox. So when people be asking me things, they be like, I said, it's clear. It's clear. It shouldn't be an issue with no one on here. We in America, we have the right to be whatever. I tell everyone I'm not orthodox. So if we understand that and we have a clear understanding, I don't have a problem with no one. But when it comes to the science and when it comes to doing things in a certain manner, when it comes to dealing with the civic matter of things and doing things lawfully and understanding and without doing things based on feelings, which is another, character flaw, these are things that we should agree with. I tell everyone, the brotherhood is going to trump everything. What, not religion per se? What do you mean, Sheik? We had religion forever. And look at us. You got the Hebrew Israelite. You got the this, that. You got the Egyptologists. You got the 5%ers. You got the radical Moors. You got these type of brothers. You got all different types. The pro-black Africa brothers. All that. And all that is separate. And why? So I say what trumps all that, it should be what? A brotherhood. Because if we understand what a brotherhood trumps all that. What do you mean? Man, because if you look at Jesus as a prophet or this or a God, which I'm not going to argue with no one, okay, well then, he was under the brotherhood, a Melchizedek. So a brotherhood is always good. That's what I tell people. I say, what, man? I said, look at here. You can't look at me, and I can't look at you, and you take all that off. We look like the same tribe. We can't be that naive, you know? So that's why I say a brotherhood of understanding. You can't be naive. And that's the thing I be telling all my brothers. They be like, no matter what banner you under, I said, what, man, you cannot be out here naive. Because you out here playing. Brother, I tell people, you out here playing and you naive. When you're not organized, when you're not strong, when nothing's trickling down, when there's nothing, man, that's nothing. That's not economically, that's not even economically explainable. How many people? What's going on? Who got what? Ain't no this. We don't have no land. What we, man, come on, man. I'm talking about in my community. I ain't talking about what nobody else doing, because I'm saying in my community, in urban neighborhoods where people still at, I say, man, it's no brotherhood. It can't be a group of Moors, all these brothers. It can't be a group of Moors on social media arguing all the time. Like, it can't be it can't be nobody in your best interest that you feel weird about what they telling you. And most of these people telling you to file some paperwork. How can anybody feel good about that? And I always tell people, just think for a minute and relax. Because the psychosis of an adult to think that you can meet someone on social media and file some paperwork and get a Bentley and all this stuff, so they selling you entertainment and a lifestyle, and I mean you're a groupie. Think about what I'm saying. Now think about what I'm saying, the manufacturerness of what I'm saying, with no disrespect. A person that would make up that they have an education and a person that really have an education. You know, so a person that really have an education would be able to talk on some specifics, and they say, okay, well, you can look me up and just like and look me up and see that individual have those degrees that he said, right? So if you're talking something, and if you're a part of something, and you're like, yep, your heart is pure, and you say you rock with what I'm saying, how can you disagree? Based off what? Like, that means you would sit. At least a just person would be like, man, I was sincerely wrong. A just person. And that's why I said you can't be that naive. And we don't want righteousness for our brothers to stand corrected. Because I teach this all the time. I tell brothers, man, I said it's okay to stand correct. That's what we doing. And then we be able to get to the next level. Because I tell y'all, man, this is not hard. This ain't nothing but a mathematical equation. This stuff is simple. This stuff is simple. Who's the people? The people. What we do, I keep telling y'all, we tax exempt for the federal government. It don't take a lot. What you mean, Sheik? It don't take a lot. It takes simple mathematics and infrastructure and a blueprint. We have it. And I guarantee you, our youth will change, things will start happening, and we can take over certain infrastructure. Why? Because the law governs all events. Brothers have to stand united. You know? Brothers have to stand united on what? This type of brotherhood. You know, when I tell people the upper echelons of what we're doing, it have to be done in a specific manner. It can't be done in a specific manner to where it's just emotion anymore. It's too much going on. And I've been telling brothers this for so long. I said, dude, man, it's too much infrastructure to be bought. I got a blueprint. The blueprint involves every one of y'all. I'm telling you. And in a certain city where I'm at, I'm telling you, it happens like that. Why? Because it's available. And so I talk about specific order, especially for my Moorish brothers. I talk about specific order, you know? Like, it's a specific order. Like, with all due respect, it's a specific order, no matter what cloth you understand. If my Masonic European partners know what I'm saying, and we on here playing, and we don't understand words have synonyms, and we don't understand the lower house and the higher house, man, then we got to say we don't understand. We can't continue to be arguing with each other no more and making ourselves look messed up. It's too much stuff going on in the world. It's too much stuff going on in the world, and we let religion separate us. And when I'm telling y'all, man, I can put it. I already done superimposed it. I already showed y'all this. I already lectured this. It shouldn't be no more arguing or nothing. It's a people. All people can say it's a misunderstanding, and you would be coming from a perspective that you really didn't know 100%. I guarantee you. If I broke down the Napatan library, if I showed you real things, you would be like, well, you think this real? And then it'd become that it don't even mean that in that dispensation, it never was thought of. You can't be upset then. All you have to do is be sincerely wrong. That's all. And it's no disrespect. You know, that ain't no disrespect to no one because a person may not have known. But then when you are known and when you are educated on some things, when not somebody trying to tell you or belittle you, no, you having discourse with a person that can enlighten, and both of us are being enlightened, and both of our tools are sharpened. That's what this for. That's why I keep telling brothers, I'll be like, well, what temple you at? You ain't learning nothing. And then when things can be corrected by wisdom, you get upset. I just talked about the Lord itself, the counseling. That's what they did to us. They put us in a pantheon for competition, winner, loser. I keep telling people the psychosis of this. Once that become broken, it's a whole nother level of game that's used to love on each other, man. I keep telling y'all. I know how to break the spell. It's just a spell. People don't be understand what I'm saying. I'm like, dude, this is old. This ain't even complex. What's going on? I keep telling people. You just got to get a hold on it. You know? So when we talk about the creator, God, Allah, the author, the creator, the governor of the world, almighty, eternal, incomprehensible. If Moors study their Moorish Quran, it's in there. What is it, chapter 35, verse 1? And I hope brothers and sisters understand that words have synonyms. You know? How certain manifestations instituted the laws for government, for the world, you know, wonderfully varied them in all beings, and each, by his nature, conform to his will. That's in your Moorish Quran, chapter 35 and 10, you know? So I don't have no disrespect of, you have the right to be whoever you want to. Declaration of Human Rights, Article 15 clearly says what? You have a right of a nationality and a right to change it. No one will be arbitrarily denied of a nationality and a right to change it, and the claim of child replaces the birth certificate, don't it? I mean, last time I checked. And so if you're doing things in a right manifestation and your heart is pure, we should not be letting no one belittle none of us. We should not let no one be in our ciphers or on our individual pages disrespecting us. Because if I was on yours and your heart is pure, I'm not allowing it. We're like, wait, hold on, man. This dude doing justice, this man doing community service. And we're supposed to use this social media to reach each other. We're supposed to use this. This is what it's for. I'm not going to allow no one to disrespect you. And I know your heart is pure. Why? Because at least you on here to know my heart is pure. So at least you know pure heart. At least you can't say you don't know pure heart. Hell. And in this science, we instructed to what? Know thyself and know God within, to know Allah. And when I say Allah, I mean God. I can also mean manifestation of man as a perfect penta, you know, with all his extremities, standing straight up. You know, the law, the science of more science, also known as what? We talk about this knowledge of self, or this to hope secure, you know, and the path or the way of what? Life, we call it, right? To accomplish this lofty idea is to be on the path. That path of Islamism, per se, or peace. You see how I'm using the words that are synonyms? Or peace, the divine instructions for all Muslims. Peace with God, peace with man, peace with nature, peace with one's surrounding, for simplified understanding. And as Grand Sheik, when we say these things as a fisher of men, meaning proficient in the degrees of law, to understand the way, so as to further instruct and to be of service to one's brothers and sisters. and others on the path. What's wrong with that? Thus said is understanding, right? The way is life, and life is the path of the law, right? And deeper still being the very law once come to manifest. All law is established in the truth, which is the holy breath. All we call Allah. And I'm just using it in this manifestation. So don't get all upset. Or all A-L, law, parenthesis H, with a W, half parenthesis. Truth is that which changes not, right? And the divine instructions for man is to understand that in the world, there were two things. Oh, hold on, I got you, bro. I got you. I got you. I got you. I don't know why he. I know he wanted that. All right, my bad, y'all. But that's how things are established to come up with that manifestation, right? The holy breath, right? Truth is that which changes not, right? So in the divine instructions for man, it is to, and it's understood that in all the world there are two things, right? The one is truth, right? The other is we like to call falsehood. And falsehood is that which seems to be. I got you, bro. Now it's ought and has no cause, and yet it is the cause of everything. Falsehood is not, and yet it's manifest of right. So you have to understand that complexity. And whatever has been made will be unmade. That which began must end. That's in your Morris Quran, right? Chapter 7, verse 4 and 7, right? So when we talk about, watch how we walk through this, nobles. What'd he say? I'm sorry, y'all. I got my other, somebody from the college on there. Peace, brother. I thank you for the donation. Hey, they be hooking me up, man. I love y'all, man. And gratitude, whoever on here that give a donation from your heart, man. We thank you. It's all good. All you gotta do is hit me up, man. I'll give you some literature. I'll give you some literature. I'll build your library, man. It's nothing. But let's deal with some stuff. Like commercial law. So I'm just gonna give a little bullets of this for you can kind of get a little clear understanding, for you can at least want to inquire of something. You know what I mean? So you can at least be like, wait a minute, I think I need to slow down, or I need to learn. And then when I break down the Justinian theory, I think people should really, really slow down, because I did that already. And I don't think people caught nothing I said, because I still see people doing it right now. And when people think things are spelled in a certain way, that it exempts you from anything. And I'll be telling you, man, you off. But that's a whole nother that's a whole nother subject. We just have to be correct with what we're doing, you know? Hold on. What's up? Nothing much. What you doing? Oh, okay. Man, I'm finna get offline in a minute. Yeah, I'm finna get off in a second. I'll call you right back. Okay, I'll call you in a minute. Right back. My fault. Some real life things, man. But yeah. So after you read certain chapters, like chapter 1, 2, and 3, and when I break things down, like in your Quran, you'll be able to see certain quotes that I'll be talking about that explains commercial law's process. All this stuff is in your Quran. That's why I'll be like, man, that's why I tell a lot of my brothers that being more science and they take it, and I'll be like, oh, so, and I say, so, how can I say it? So you're not Sufi, so you're not Tasawwuf, so you religious. And then I say, well, that to me that's bias because we don't gravitate to one science where we miss the essence of the rest. I mean, as an adapt, and I wouldn't teach nobody none less than me. I would have to teach. I would have to show my brothers and at least instruct them to be greater than me. Like that right there don't make sense. Cause I said the science that I teach is not a lower science, and at the brotherhood I don't teach no. We way above 32 degrees. I keep telling my brothers and sisters that you have to know that. I have my own charter. I have my own fraternal order. I say, man, we 33 times 3. I don't have to get approved by the other man. I have my own charter, just like everyone else, just like the Vatican, just like anything else that's legit. And that's just what it is. With all due respect, the prophet said he was going to show you, leave certain situations here to show you how to build a nation. And I say, what, a nation in a nation? And people don't catch it. And people don't see how the temple was set up because they don't have the information to be like, oh, I just said a certain type of psychosis that our brothers is under. I said, if the facts be presented to you in love to show you how we operate and show why we shouldn't be saying things and doing things, then progress can happen. This is what I'm saying. But it's not. Why? Because the psychosis. I just said it. I'm giving the information. The information should easily be stored because I'm not even in advanced civics. I'm like I said, the wisdom I'm giving is a schoolmaster still. So I'm saying that if my brothers and sisters that study the science, and I'm not here to argue. I'm talking about more brothers that be like they Moors and they study more science and X, Y, Z and it's love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. I say, well, okay. Well, if that's the case, if I'm giving love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, why you can't identify it? Man, right? Man is truth and falsehood strangely mixed. Man is breath made flesh. So truth and falsehood are conjoined in him, and then they thrive. And naught goes down, and man, as truth abides. That's in your Quran, right? Your Moorish Quran. 7 and 13, all right? When we talk about the public speaker, the day star from on high, a.k.a. Yahshua the Messiah, which they say in English, or how can I say, Anglo-Saxon or ancient English, Jesus, the Cristo. In the light of certain things, the law is the unshakable pillars of truth, dispelling the darkness of falsehood, revealing the light to settle in peace. And it don't be no disrespect. I tell people we can't go on letting the worst of us represent something that's so vital and that can be turned so bad and make everybody lose their freedom. You already done seen it. Now, and I already explained certain things, how things can be done in the right way, which you have the right. I already broke these things. This stuff is simple. Others have the right. You have the right if it's done the right way. But the law is the unshakable pillars of truth, right? Laws for civilized governments, the religious groups, science, philosophy are grown out of the force of nature and its natural development constituted. It had to be by some higher being. Think about it, to send the law. So when we be talking about certain things, man, I think we need to be talking about the upper echelons of things instead of the lower science, because we should be way past that, right? The law, the laws, natural law, certain things. Or when I talk about commercial law, And brothers don't, and they said, well, oh, we on married time. I said, dude, like, you got to listen, you know? The law must emerge in human conscience through observation and application of what? The natural law. It's some things that's contingent. You just can't skip processes, not in this. That's what I be telling people. I say it don't work like that. A real person can smell that out real fast. And it's no disrespect. Thoughts, thinking, words, deeds, or actions in a natural order. You know, you know, evolution. You have what it is, the most fundamental of all human law. The most fundamental of human laws is the laws of economics. What you mean? I just said it. The law of economics, which is commercial law. I keep telling people, I said, dude, you can't go on like this. We can't be in a certain neighborhood where the neighborhood is for sale and we don't understand what we doing economically, aka commercial law. And that's the law, that is the third law. It has to do with your survival, the human interactions of any kind, any relationship, buying, selling, trading, or relating in any way, which gave rise to the fourth law, which is our moral law. Remember, I talk about the moral law. It's some things that we shouldn't be doing to each other. It's some things that we shouldn't even be accepting, you know? It's some things that we shouldn't even be accepted. Moral law of the family. Definition of moral law is a general rule of right living, especially such a rule or group of rules conceived as universal and unchanging, and as having the sanction of God's will, of conscience, of man's moral nature, or of natural justice, as revealed to human reason. That's why it's so valid for us, man, to do things, bring things together and talk economically. I'm telling you, man, with a good blueprint, because I have one. I'm telling you. And especially brothers that agree, it's not hard. The law of family, the law of nations, the laws of one's forefathers. When I show you, like, what you mean forefathers, the laws of one vine and fig tree, right? Which gave rise to the nations, the state, or the so-called government laws to protect family members against any other people, any other nation, or another family member. I use something that's synonym or that's or may be familiar and you might not really know about is a family crest or your coat of arms. I got a coat made with our Goodman family crest, and that's a part of history. In the continent, you'll be like, well, I thought this was only a certain type of people there. Well, no, you just been miseducated, and that's okay. I tell you, a lot of books, like in research and history, especially scholastic books that we may think scholastic when the other person are right about, you have to be very, very careful to make sure they're not coming from biasness, because that's something you have to be careful about as well. In academia, I have too many books and study so much to believe any book. Just like I'll give y'all an analogy. It's books about Nat Turner by Europeans, with all due respect. That's total fallacy. That's a total fallacy. And we'll buy them. And then if people be showing them on, and I don't be wanting to embarrass no one, I just know when a lot of stuff be posted on social media, I know brothers and sisters clearly haven't read it. When they be like, oh man, that book's so good, I'll be like, how in the heezy is that book so good? And I'll be telling people, if the language don't match for a time period, it's fugazi. But you have to be anointed in that specific skill to be able to call it out like that. That's what I'll be telling brothers and sisters. I don't be here to disrespect no one. I'll be telling people, I said, come on, man, we still ain't caught on yet. We can do something. You know? The law of nations, or international law, may be defined as the body of rules and principles of action which are binding upon civilized states in their relation with one another. Another way of seeing this is nationality is the order of the day. Now, when I say nationality is the order of the day, I ain't dissing no one. There's no one to diss. All you have to do is read Declaration of Human Rights, Article 15. So if you're rocking with me, you're rocking with me. If you want to do whatever you want to do, you have the right to do that. That's why you're in America. Man, that tea good, man. So once again, like family, I got a little more time. We talk about the common law. It emerged in England around 1100 AD during the so-called Dark Ages, as the misnomer Europeans called it, you know. But in reality, it was during the Moorish rule in the lands of Albion that the laws was being revealed until their Renaissance. So in history, you got the Renaissance, like you can get dispensation books. And in each dispensation, it'll talk about this period, this period, this period, you know what I mean? So as to lead the second half of the Cali Age until it was over. Common law was developed to resolve disputes over allodial land boundaries. It is the law of the land. So now, every time I say something, I'm always going to I'm going to stop because a person, you will hear words and be like, see, he said allodial this, and then people will use those things and get people caught up in fallacy. Like, a lot of stuff, when we talk about allodial deed, it ain't dealing with no homes, allodial land, it ain't dealing with no homes or nothing, it's dealing with land. So if you get caught up in using words out of context, I like to call it, because you don't know the truth of the word and you haven't took the time or your due diligence or even deal with someone that got your best interest to tell you to slow down and, it's a better way to do these things, purchase land, and that's what we do, and I try to bring people, around and be like, listen, man, we can do something. I promise you, So it is the law of the land. Common law gives rise to the jury system and writs and processes, which monarchy governments have absorbed in their rulership and regulations, and rules made into statutes and processes in courts. Common law is valid to the extent that it does not conflict with commercial law, right? And from this, you get the 5 echelons, or the hierarchy, or that upper echelon of that hierarchical, that higher level system of the law, right? So in a manifestation, where a sequence, you'll get the law or the will of Allah, or the law of the force, natural law, commercial law, moral law, law of nations, right? And a point of reference needs to be expressed for those that are adapt thinkers. And this is what I tell people. I said, what do you mean? No, if you're an adapt thinker, the 5 levels of the law are in perfect oscillation with the 5 highest principles of law and our Moorish jurisprudence, which is love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Love is the will of the law, of the force. The truth is the natural law. Peace is commercial law. Freedom is moral law. And justice is law of the family and the law of nations. So when brothers be misconstruing and taking the science the wrong way, I said, well, the science can be used against you in a court of law. How? To prove that you're wrong. Thus, the 5 highest principles are the source code of the law for all civilizations, which desire peace. It can be expressed as a formula, right? A source code formula. And on the justice formula, L times T, we got a lower P, you got the slash, F equals J. Like, it's just a different equation. I hate to use charts and stuff. I have to write it down one day and just show us certain things. And we'll do gematria too and a cipher, just to show some things that's codes in the biblical scriptures, along that'll match the Sephirots as well. And bring deeper meaning. He, Allah, has instituted law for the government of the world. That's in your Moorish Quran as well, right? 35 and 10, right? And then chapter 2 is like commercial law. That's why I be trying to tell brothers, I'm like, come on, man. You don't have to do nothing wrong. Just you can admit that you wasn't very versed on certain things, you know. And that's what I be telling people. Peace, brother A. Bay. Peace, brother Bay. And that's what I be telling people. It's okay. We have to spread this. We cannot let this go along anymore. And we have men and women jumping on social media with the stuff. At least push this. You know. But commercial law, because of its nature, is the key that unlocks the doors. You know, and understanding its application and processes through state and government laws will give the checkmate remedy in law. And that's what I be telling people. I be like, dude, you like, well, okay, where you at? You in America? You here? So what you trying to do? Oh man, you going the wrong way about it. I did, and people don't want to admit it. I say, you going the wrong way about what? Everything. And until brothers have a wake up call, until we put that in the back burner, I mean, this is what we're gonna get. The least of us doing the same thing that the rest of them doing. And we could have, and y'all could at least help someone build infrastructure, some real talk, instead of riding around playing. I mean, we really can do something major. But here we go with this, y'all. The principles, the maxims, and the precepts of commercial law are eternal and unchangeable and unchanging. They are expressed in our Quran and in the Bible, and it has remained unchanged for thousands of years. And it forms the underlying foundation for all law and governments in the world, the law of nations, and everything that human civilization is built on. And understanding law at this level, by these processes, nothing that is an inferior statute can overcome it, or change it, or abrogate it, or meddle with it. Remains the fundamental source of authority and power and functional reality. And there are 10 essential maxims of truth, precepts, and common law. You see? And that's why I be telling people, I said, you off because we don't have nothing in common. If you don't know these basics, this schoolmaster, you should be looking at someone and be like, man, only person I should be dealing with is Sheik. Because I'm not gonna lead you in no burning house. A workman is due his hire. Anything that I do, it don't hurt nobody. This is what I be telling people. I said we have to support our own kind and put them there. It's okay with dealing with people that we feel is righteous, that have a mission. How else we gonna make them right? When we like singers and rappers, the only way they popular and be living in Bentleys and stuff and all that, because the people bought their records, I guess. But this ain't about no records. It's about doing some real work. I'm just using that as an analogy. But it's expressed in our Moorish Quran, chapter 31 and 3. Cast not an evil eye on the goods of thy neighbor. Let whatever is his property be sacred, right, from thy touch. Or the Old Testament of the people in the book, in Exodus 20 and 15, thou shalt not steal, which in terms of commercial law, right? Commercial law, right? A workman is worthy of his hire. And the second maxim of commercial law is what? Equality before the law. Or more precise, all are equal under the law, right? Right? Which can be seen, expressed in your Moorish Holy Quran, chapter 31 and 5, right? Defame him not in his character, bear no false witness against him. Also in Act 3, right, of our DC and our bylaws of the Moorish Science Temple of America, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, must be proclaimed and practiced by all members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. No member is to put in danger or accuse falsely his brother or sister on any occasion, because Allah is love. What this means is commercial law being founded on the unchanging principle of the law, and natural law is binding on everyone, which natural law creates moral law enforced by the nation, the family, because it's binding on everyone's family, and no one can escape it. Are y'all catching what I'm saying? So when we got people in our community that's doing this, and I put the light on it, the family, the family should put that to the side. This is what I'm saying. I've been here. I've been here. Come on, this is what I'm saying. I hope people caught what I just said. This is a brotherhood in this context. Why? Because it's everyone. It disrespects everyone's family. And the third maxim of law is in commerce is the truth is sovereign. The truth is sovereign, right? Truth is sovereign. The law of the force. And we can see this maxim and other maxims expressed in our map. And our map is our Moorish American prayer. You don't have to agree to that. I mean, that's why I tell people we don't have to be on social media disrespecting each other like that as adults. If a person not into that, it's no reason for us to be, well, you don't leave the one of God on the way. Okay, well, that's fine. But if you say God is love, the way you coming, it shows something about the mental once again. Because if you understand that words have synonyms, and I tell you I'm not Orthodox, and then if we have a conversation, you will agree from understanding. Because that's all you should want is understanding. I would hope. But the Father of the universe, the highest sovereign authority, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, the source code of the law, of the government of the world, the law of the family. Allah is my protector, my God, and my salvation by night and by day. All are equal under the law through his workman, the holy prophet, the divine and national principles of the nation state by the founder. The map is also the affidavit per se. Yep. 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 Stop flashing your card at AKA Europeans. They call them confusion. Remember your ideas for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be of severe consequences. That's why you don't, all that stuff, I don't get it. Because that's not how no one operate. And I ask people, they be afraid, well, where do you get it from? Because you got it from somewhere. So your word is your bond and your covenant. And when one lost outside of his vine and fig tree, truth is not sovereign in commerce. Commerce meaning essential every human action and interrelationship. And when the will of the Creator or when the will of Allah is not sovereign, there would be no basis for anything. No basis for law and order, no basis for accountability. There would be no standards, no capacity to resolve anything because it means anything goes, each man for himself, and nothing matters. Debates down to survival of the fittest. Money becomes one God, right? They have said money becomes their God. You see what they said? And I tell y'all already, a person's heart is pure can always see it. It just take them longer. The whole thing people should be supporting infrastructure and brothers and sisters could have something really, really, really popping. Really, really popping. I'm telling you, we can. So in commerce, truth should be sovereign. And the fourth maxim of commercial law is the truth is expressed in the form of an affidavit. You see? In commerce, an affidavit must coexist and underlay and form the foundation and responsibility for any commercial transaction whatsoever. There can be no valid commercial transaction without someone taking the risk and putting his commercial honor on the line and stated that this is true and correct. In certain situation, when one issues an affidavit, you have engaged in a two-edged sword per se. It cuts both ways, right? The affidavit may be a claim or a bill that you send to someone in due form, right? And it must say that they owe you some money or something, right? someone has to take responsibility for saying, in fact, that this is a real situation. And this is why it's a real situation. So as I break these things down, like in commerce, if someone sends you a bill, listen to this, or assessment or something of this kind, they have tabulated the goods or services that they have provided for you with the amount of each in a booking ledger. You know what they do? They total it at the bottom and the total amount you owe. This is called a true bill in commerce, unless there is a commercial affidavit that is proper commercial paperwork with somebody taking responsibility, and there is no valid commercial transaction. So I'm just breaking things down, in its simplicity. This is nothing complex. And when you use an affidavit in commerce, you get the power of the affidavit, and you also incur the liability, right? So I don't want to go too far. That's why I want you to come learn. Affidavits change things in ways which could or would affect other people. This means whoever issued an affidavit in commerce has a liability for its veracity. And if what you say in your affidavit is in fact true, then those who are adversely affected can come back to you with the claim for recourse that is justifiable. Why? Because you lied. I'll give y'all another one. Unrebutted affidavits stands as the truth in commerce. What do you mean? All right. If they go unchallenged, they merge as the truth in the matter. There is a presumption in commerce that so-called Asiatic people are, with all due respect, NEGROs, BLACK persons, a second-class citizen, which is like saying a stateless person or a refugee. And if this is affirmed by the Asiatics through his or her words, deeds, and actions, and ignorance of the law of family, this is no excuse. And if unrebutted, the affidavit, aka, with no disrespect, the birth certificate that states such a shameful and notorious deficit, a deficit, then he, she are the subject to that status. And it's no disrespect. We're not saying this and that, but we can see these things in history and correct things. We know no matter if a person like Noble Drew Ali or not, or say he was this or he was that, man, people was a lot of things, but what was done. And that's why I always tell people, when you're dealing with other nationality like the other man, when you talk about Mussolini and all these, and Churchill and all the atrocities they done, and these people be having monuments and all the presidents that have misnomer slaves and such and this and that and the other, I said, we can't just be belittling everyone that did some justice for people, that gave them an idea. People be talking about, well, Margaret Garvey, this, and that, and the other. I said, we can do things as a scholarship, but to discredit the work and the idea, because in our Morris Quran, Marcus Garvey is compared to John the Highbridger. I mean, so it should be some things that we should be okay with, right? It should be some things. That's when I talk about Neville Goddard and I talk about the Ethiopian rabbi, Abdullah. I'll be like, come on, brothers, we can't be that naive, right? Right? Like from love and from brothers, when I say, man, we can't be that naive, man. We can't. Certain things was done, certain things was filed. Certain things was done, certain things was filed. You know what I'm saying? And a sixth maxim of law is an unrebutted affidavit, becomes the judgment in commerce, meaning there is nothing left. There's nothing to resolve, right? And when you're dealing with things, it could be in your one-on-ones or just showing brothers what it is and what it's not. And you don't have to be like, oh, peace, bro. And you don't have to be judgmental. You can really sit down with a cipher of people on a level and have, conversations and be able to take these tools. And then if you're on a level of building and economics in a certain way, you can really, 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 really start doing some things in a certain demographic, especially if you have the information. And that's what I tell people. I say, once you know who you are and once you know the power that you have, it should be going to another level. And like when I talk about ownership of land and in communities, in so-called urban communities and the hardest hit funds, buying certain things where a lot of the youth need that help, and people can adopt communities and neighborhoods. It's just a specific blueprint that can be done, Let me see. Do I want to talk about something else? Okay, I can give you all this. I can give you all this one. It's an ancient principle in Mosaic law. A lot of presidents, they knew that, like they study certain things, and you can pull certain things. Like if you know how to take words and compare and contrast to like legal genre or legalese, you'll be like, damn, this sounds familiar like this. And I'll be like, yeah, because certain pieces was, if you know how to put that puzzle together, that's why I say in certain brotherhoods, this is what they be doing. Just like when I talk about, what's his name? I can't even think of his name. But life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It'll come to me. And this stuff they teach in Harvard about law and specific things and how to handle yourself. And it's so simple, but you're not thinking about it. You know what I mean? Certain things is so simple. Certain things is a violation, but we be violating ourselves. Why? Because of lack of knowledge. We think we be saying some things correct. When you ask them, I don't want to give it away because most people, I just don't want to. But people will be like, oh, I'll give it in this frame. Am I under arrest or am I free to, or I'm detained? Man, it's things that if you knew the proper manifestation, certain things wouldn't even have to go like that to give a person the opportunity to do that, because you should know if X, Y, and Z is already established, there's no need for that. If that's going down, it's an issue. I'm telling you what I know, and this is law, and it had nothing to do with no more stuff or no other thing. You must be 100% correct. That's all I know. If people don't understand that, I don't have nothing to do with that. I said I ain't saying about no false paperwork or nothing. I said if you're doing the right thing, you don't have to tell nobody nothing. You don't have to say nothing. Where I'm going, man, in circles. So these are the things I'm saying. And if a certain thing is not done in a certain manifestation, it's a problem. And if you understand it, if you rock in a certain way, then I promise you, with all due respect, you will have no problem. And if you're rocking with a certain, and if you're rocking the right way, and I'm not saying just because if you're rocking with me, like most of my brothers, when they rock with me and we do a certain thing, it's a fact check. Like, okay, this is what's going on. Why? Because it is. If you're right, you want people to be right. You a beacon. And that's what I be telling people. What you mean? When you're right, you a beacon. All right? But he who leads the battlefield first loses by default. Governments and all other laws and processes is to resolve disputes and to resolve conflicts between affidavit of truth. And the ninth maxim of commercial law is sacrifice is the measure of credibility. No willingness to sacrifice, no liability, responsibility, authority to measure of conviction. So when people be saying this and getting you caught up in this paper stuff, I'll be like, dude, it's nothing. It's not it's no sacrifice. The 10th maxim of commercial law is a lien or claim can be satisfied only through rebuttal by affidavit, point for point. resolution by jury and or payment. So let me back up. So when these brothers think they be going under a contract when they are willing obligor and they don't read the contract, and they be thinking and they can say, well, the contract was unbiased. One, nobody's gonna go in a contract with you, and it's not gonna benefit them for nothing unless it's something personal. Every establishment have the right to, hell, if you don't understand how to do business and you let them get you in a higher payment and doing all this because certain things, that's on you. You didn't do your due diligence. That's why I tell people, you should, anything decision that you don't know, you should be having people that's rocking with you that what have your best interest. This is what I be telling people when I be telling people it's a way to do things, especially if you're rocking under a certain banner, the sign that I'm rocking under. Ain't nothing wrong with that. It's just like if we met up, and you got to, and it's like this. One, it should be a respected level. Things should be done a certain way. I always tell people like this, man. I say, man, dealing with me, man, everything should be done in a certain way. You know, everything should be done in a certain way. You know, and that's why I always tell people. I say, man, I'm easy to reach. You know, all my information is in my bio. And so somebody said, well, speak on it, Sheik. Okay, I will. But all my information is in my bio. I'm not a person on here, man, to have people on my page and then we getting into a discussion or XYZ. And I ain't saying I don't know people or you know, if people say they chill, with all due respect. I just know how this social media is disrespect. And I just know how on this platform, you know, you let people on here that you don't know, and it be something that you don't even want to be involved with. That's all I'm saying. I don't have no problem with nobody speaking or saying I'm gonna hit you up while I'm speaking. But for me, I don't know why I should let a person on here that I don't know, because I don't want to get caught up in no debate. With all due respect, you know, people be saying they chill and this, that, and the other. With all due respect, but I'm an elder. I'm always checking stuff from the door. So if people want to deal with me, I think they should respect, you know, what I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. With all due respect, you know, when people saying let me and my crew in and let me in, I'm like, dude, like, for what? With all due respect, I think we can, get in contact with each other on a respectable level, and you know, and see what we want to talk about and will we have this course just to be freestyle and taking it to a whole nother level that I might not want it to go. With all due respect, you know, I'm always be transparent. I might not want it to go that level. You know, I might not want that to represent on my page. And with all due respect, I damn sure don't want to get into a debate with my brother or someone on here that may be trolling. I don't want to do that. You know. But it's a thing called like private law. And so like when I be telling brothers and sisters, when I be telling brothers like having your land like how we own land and you can do certain things on your land to where you can have like homestead land and land that's ready to be built on, you know, whatever type of structure you want to put on it. But acreage of acreage, you know, doing certain things in a certain area that maybe in a community or a neighborhood where they all local and state laws, you may not be able to do, you know? So that's why I encourage and I try to have these conversations with brothers and sisters to at least to get them on the board with us. Just like if you were supporting another organization that can give you a taxes and receipt so you can be a part of it, you know? Cause we close, you know? Cause we close, you know? So private law is the part of substantive law governing individuals, nationals, and legal entities. 14th Amendment citizens known as persons, right? Listen clearly, i.e., black people, with all due respect, Latinos, colored people, African Americans, aka white persons, and corporations, and their relationships with one another. Substantive law creates, defends, and regulates legal rights and obligations. Thus, the rule of contract law determines when a binding contract is formed, are rules of substantive law. So I hope y'all just be knowing that little title. Procedural law sets forth of rules for enforcing the rights that exist by reason of substantive law. Thus, procedural law defines the method by which to obtain a remedy when you go to court, aka litigation, right? You also have public law. And just like when I was teaching you trust law and how to set certain things up, you don't want nothing in public. You want everything private. You don't want nobody knowing about your assets and this, and that, and the other. It's no one business. But for the sake of education and teaching, that's what we're doing. Public law is the branch of substantive law that deals with the government rights and powers and its relationship to individuals or groups. Public law consists on constitutional law, administrative, and criminal law. So, by signing of your hand at the legal age to contract 18 years old or before you become legal age, the signature of your parent or another person, such as a physician, had to be signed, right? AKA your bond, your birth certificate. No disrespect. It's no disrespect. Because when things are done a certain way, a person will be like, well, yeah, that's true. And I'll be like, I know. So we don't have to argue about nothing. What is the Declaration of Human Rights, Article 15? All you got to do is research, somebody research and tell me what they get when they get the Declaration of Human Rights, Article 15. Because I think we know what the Declaration of Human Rights, Article 15 clearly says. We're not here to argue with no one, I hope, right? This is simple, elementary. This is basic civics, right? Like the Declaration of Human Rights, Article 15, we all know what that is, right? I think so. I think we do. I think we do. Thank you, Brother Bay. Yep. See, we are intelligent brothers on here. We can't be going through this for so long and be on here arguing with people just for clicks and giggles. Like why? We should be way past that. We should be rocking with the best. Because I'm giving us things, Declaration of Human Rights, Article 15. Now, if I say I rock with that and I say it's one nationality, many cultures, why do somebody want to argue with me? Because I'm not going to argue with you. I tell you, we don't have religion forever. It got to be something better. It got to be something better for us, especially those that look like each other. It got to be something better than us. It got to be a brotherhood. We have to understand there's one body in many parts. We have to understand that. It ain't about believing in nobody religion because that ain't it. And I love everybody religion, I understand, but I don't believe in nothing outside of myself. Anything outside myself is true shirk. I understand this. No one can tell me no different. But I understand. I understand your Paraclete, your Fatima, your Jerusalem. I understand. I understand it all. You know? But that's where it stops. I understand you do 5 salats. I'm under the al salat. I understand you get prostrate and all that, but the al salat is done a certain way, standing up. And there's no disrespect to no one. That's just what it is. If you haven't studied and read your literature, that don't have nothing to do with me. That has nothing to do with me. Right? Because of all that is good, sublimity is supreme. To tell a lie is to go against the mind. He who fails to assert his rights has none. He who does not repeal a wrong when he can occasions it. He who does deny admits. So man, I don't want to stay too far in this because it's a lot. But I tell brothers, man, if brothers really wanted to sit down and do things the right way, you know, instead of wasting our time, we could bend past. We can be so far. I'm telling you, because we wasting our time. I'm telling you. And I promise y'all I got a blueprint. And I promise y'all I won't let no one down. It's too many of us. I'm telling you, man, that understand the same way. It's too many of us. When I talk about the etymological of the term more, you know, the ancient root MR. Now let's see if you rocking with me, because this is not hard. The vowels are interchangeable. The root of the word is its contentions, found in Maracush or Morosh, you know, spelled in a different way as Mauraysh, or we know as Moorish, spelled how it's spelled today, right? Also known as Tamarian or Maru or America, i.e. the Old Moorish language, of what has come to be known as Egyptian or Hebrew, right? Here I said language. The scholarship, a word known as commit, has come down in this context to mean black land or black people. Land is not the true and divine name for ancient Egypt, and the ancient hieroglyph clearly shows that the proper term is Tamori or Tamaru or Tamari, the MR or the PA-TA, Mara, Patamara, meaning the ancient land of Egypt. Tamara, land of the Moor, is hidden and true nationality of the real ancient Egyptians. The word commit is a geographical name where the praiseworthy misnomer black dirt settle, right? The root word, MR, right? An abbreviation for Mr., Master, More, come from the Old Moorish language or letters M-L, O-M-L. So we use in commentary a point of authority, right? A point of authority, you know, which we like to talk about. When we talk about academic discourse, the MR, right, has a deeper meaning in relationship to Moorish Americans' titles, bays, and L's. The MR, as we are gathering from the supra means, from the supra, S-U-P-R-A, right? What my boy said, he crazy. He said, boy, he be snapping. But it means more, and vowels are interchangeable, creating variations in etymology of the more, such as MR, also meaning master, Mr., Marcus, is actually more, or Moorish, M-O-R-E-I-S-H. Excuse me. When you look at the synonym of MR, more, master, Mr., is equal to Lord, Lord and master, right? Sovereign and ruler. Etymology of lords, root meanings in most biblical dictionaries. Watch this. What is it? Baal. Baal is an ancient candidate god, sometimes referred to as storm god, known as Ra, Asar, the ASR, Osiris, and Marduk, right? Among other lands. Now Baal is in fact B-E-Y. B-A-L is in reality B-A-E-L, meaning son of El. The A-L was dropped, but can also be expressed as I-L or E-L. Baal was transliterated into B-A-E in Old English. B-A-E went into Middle English, transliterated into B-E-Y. Baba anciently means father, and Ba, right, means son. Also babe, son. Ba is where we get Ra, son, sun god. You see? Pronounced Ba with an exaggerated A. Ra, also Ray. When you be seen in the martial arts, Del Rey. Bay, root, B, B dash Y. Or Bai, meaning noble priest or priest king. And when the Moroccan Empire ruled the world, also known anciently as Egypt, the capital empire of the dominion of Africa. All bailiffs were bailiffs. All bailiffs were bailiffs. The term bay became bay and bai, obey. Also using the hammer to pound in the truth. Recent archaeological, biblical, and extra biblical research has led scholars working in the area of the origins of the Israelites, that religion, to assert that they're bodily and confidently that the original God of Israel was in fact the Canaanite deity El. The name Israel is not a Yahwistic name. El is the name of the deity invoked in the name Israel, which translate may El preserve. This suggests that El was seen as the chief God in the formative years of Israel's religious practices. In fact, the ethological story explaining the original of the name Israel occurred in your biblical text in Genesis 35, 9 and 15, right? Remember when Jacob obtained this name through what? Blessing of what? El Shaddai, right? Which is El of the mountain, right? We're just using it for reference. We almost done. And then secondly, there exist numerous parallels and similarities between descriptions and cultural terminology used for El in the Canaanite text and those used for Yahweh in the biblical source. You right? At some point, it's ascertained that the cultural worship of Yahweh must have absorbed that of El through the means of Yahweh, assimilated both the imagery and epithets once used of El. You catching what I'm saying? And then again, there is strongly confirmation of this assimilation in the biblical record itself, in your old literary traditions of the Pentateuch. If y'all ever read the Pentateuch, it is El who regularly appears and not Yahweh. Now, we're not dissing nothing. I just want you to research things. Or Yahweh as El. The patriarchal narrative identify El as the deity to whom many of the early patriarchal shrines and altars were built. Remember, you informed in Genesis 33 and 20, look it up for yourself, that Jacob builds an altar in the old cultural center of the north, Shechem, and dedicates it to El, God of Israel, right? El, Elio, Israel. There is no ambiguity in the Hebrew here. El must be translated as a proper name. El, the textual tradition from which this text derives. The Elohist ultimately remembers a time when El was the Patreon God of Israel. No disrespect. That El was the deity worship at Shechem. It also attests in Judges chapter 9, 46, which speaks of the shrine of El, of the covenant, the God of the shrine at Bethel, which literally translates house of El, is additionally El, I am El of Bethel, Genesis 31 and 13, 35 and 7, and appears to Jacob as El Shaddai. I'm just saying if that's what it says. I'm not saying you have to believe anything. That's not what we're here to do. 35 and 11, 48 and 3, Jacob has another encounter with El at Peniel, which is so named because Jacob sees El so-called face-to-face in 32 and 31, right? And Isaac blessed Jacob through El Shaddai, 28 and 3. We just breaking this metaphor down. And likewise, Jacob blesses Joseph by El, or your fathers, right? 49 and 25. El, who sees, is given as the etymology of Beer-Lahai, Roy, in Genesis 16 and 13. I hope you're writing this down. And we are informed that Abraham journeys to the old cultural shrine, right? At Beersheba, where he plants and worships a tree and called the name El, the Eternal, right? And at that same time, Yahweh, Genesis 21 and 33. And contrary to Genesis 33 and 20, where the Shechemite El is presented unambiguously as the God of Israel, right? in Genesis 21 and 33. See, we're just having a good one. We almost done. El is apparently already assimilated to Yahweh. And finally, in Genesis 14, 18, and 22, speaks of the Most High, of whom the Canaanite Melchizedek is priest at Jerusalem, right? I mean, come on. Come on now. I can show y'all so many codes, man, in the biblical scripture. But it's just to keep the misnomer brother off the breadcrumbs. And I'm sorry. I can say it matter of factual like that. And this assimilation between Yahweh and El, or El into Yahweh, is presented in much the priestly source largely advocates this assimilation in Genesis 17 and 1. The priestly writers, right? Right? The priestly writers state that Yahweh appeared to Abram and said to him, I am El Shaddai. Last time I checked. And it ain't no disrespect. And Exodus 6, 2 and 3, in contradiction to the J per se, has Yahweh asserted, I am Yahweh. And I appeared to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob at El Shaddai. And I was known to them by the name Yahweh. Although the verse suggests an identification between Yahweh and El of the mountain, if you read, and if you just using a little reason, not trying to think too much, the verse also subtly recognizes an ancient distinction between the God of the patriarch El and the God of the Messiah era, which we call Yahweh. And perhaps it's necessary at this point to ask yourself the question. Now you have to go back to who was El again? And why is he even mentioned in the Bible in the first place? Let alone as the God of Israel in the older literary traditions of Genesis, with all due respect. So I would hope we want to know, And our knowledge of El predominantly comes from the Holy Quran. Well, a lot of Moors, when Moors be dissing things, I say, no, it's in your Moors Quran. Not saying nothing is better than nothing. Not saying nothing is better than nothing. But if you study it, it is there. Like when a person can say, I'm not with it, but then I ask you as reason, is it there? You can be like, yes, it's there. And the person be like, well, that's all this brother's saying. And if you're rocking with it, you are. But if you're not, there's no reason to be disrespectful. That's why I said truth has no size, right? When the person has the right to do things, when it's done right. Let me read something to y'all. So when we talk about certain things like old time religion and the background of things and what people spoke of and what hasn't been spoke of, I say I hope whatever you're learning is higher science. It's understanding the 360 is just the sum total of material wisdom. 720 is the total of what? Material and spiritual wisdom. Then people be trying to just go to all other planes and all this, and I'll be like, man, that's all to me folly. Be like, just take it easy. These two levels, what man need to manifest on this earth plane. Because you want to have those things to be able to have your feet planted on this solid ground. Why? Because when people be playing and they be getting that alien stuff, you see what happened to them. You see when their money become their mission. Those are the things that I'm talking about, but I'm saying it in the fashion that you should pick it up. Because these are the keys, These are the keys. Right? Nobody can deny that, man. When we talk, especially when brothers be coming with that with the religious conception or trying to argue with people. When I say it's old literature, you know, it's Ugaritic literature. It depicts El, right, as the sovereign deity of the Canaanite pantheon. So his writings, he is frequently referred to as Father of Gods, the eternal King, and creator of all living beings. El's other epithets include El the King, which is his other name, or his non-diploms per se. El the kind, the compassionate, the bull, you know, the ageless one, and the father of years. I mean, there's so many depictions. Many of those names and images later became assimilations to Yahweh. Yahweh is often depicted as bearded, as a king of God, as a compassionate, all these things. But when I break it down metaphysically to show you that all this is in you, that the throne is in you, that the cherubim, when I all this stuff rests on certain things. This is the science that we teach. The lower science, of course. Abraham plants and worships a tree at Beersheba, El Elyon. Now, I keep telling y'all, when I use these words, it's a lower level Masonic book. It's called Atlantis of the Latter Days. And I keep telling y'all, that's why I had to open my own charter, because your own brothers and sisters, with no disrespect, they'll be begging the other man to be recognized. That's why they didn't get recognized in Mississippi. They don't understand who Jabal, Jablum, and Jablim is. Our empresses that call themselves Eastern Stars, with all due respect, don't understand that the white fez with the gold tassel, it represents their birth cycle. It's way more I can say, but I'm coming with love, you know? Because that's what our people need. We need to come out of that coma. We don't need nobody authority. We need our own child. We need to step away from that. I'm telling you. That's all I'm saying. I'm not here to disrespect no one. I don't teach no snowman wisdom. Any brother that's under, I love my Prince Hall Mason brother, the PHO, PHA, all that. But they know that science that they under ain't really nothing. With all due respect. Because I can illuminate that to 99. I can illuminate that way far. And they should know it and I should know it. But if we're not willing to know, then we have a problem. It's a book called Atlantis of the Latter Days by with all due respect, the other man, he called himself El Elyon. I'm telling you, and it's nothing but the Osiris mysteries. So then when I be looking at my brothers that's in the ministry, talking that Mason stuff, and the lower house is Christianity, which is the lower level, the Blue Lodge, and the higher house is Islam, and they become practicing Muslims, I be like, man, you in here playing. I ain't saying you can't be in that house and minister to the people. Because that's the only place our people going. That's why I'm here in my city of Flint. I get me a temple here, one of these churches. I'm turning it into my temple in school. The church is the people. Understand what I'm saying? It need to be a brotherhood to sync somebody that can synchronize these teachings to show you that man is made in the image of God. If that's how you rock it, I'm that guy. I'm telling you. And I can take it to the next level to build up the perfect body. This is what I'm saying. But Abraham plants and worshipped a tree at Beersheba, El Elyon, El the Most High, the God of Melchizedek. And here it is in the Masonic book that the lower level Masons read, because they're only 32 degrees. Here it is. They won't tell you this, but I'm telling you this. I'm telling you it. Like this compass and a square, you use this in elementary. These are 2 twos. When you hear these people, you can't put a circle in a square. Man, a circle and a square both have 360 degrees, just different parameter. You didn't know that? You don't know how to use those elementary tools? This is what I told you, the type of people we dealing with. Those are the people that we dealing with. We know expertise. We should have an expertise. And once the people come together, that's the science. Right? Read Genesis 14, 18, and 24. El Roy, Ray, El who sees, Genesis 16 and 13. So I'm going to stop right there, man. But I love y'all, man. Rock with your brother, man. I hope y'all have a good day. My information is in my bio. I don't mean no disrespect to no one that's on my TikTok page or following me, but I just, like I said, for myself, I just don't want, no one jumping on my page live, and then I don't know how to get them off of my page, and they on my page disrespected. That's what I'm saying, because it's a lot of that going on social media that I've seen people jumping on people's pages and saying, "Can we battle?" and all this. I made a mistake and hit the button one day, and some brother, I don't know what nationality he was playing his music and dee 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 dee, and I'm like, oh man. Then I had some lady, I made a mistake and hit the button one day. She talking about, do I want to battle? Her and her son. No, lady, I don't want to battle. So I'm not saying that's what you here to do or nothing like that, brother. But I'm saying I think from here on out, I told you how to get with me, and if brothers willing to do things the right way as men, or men and empresses, or nobles and empresses, I think it's a way that we can greet each other, especially as men. I just don't rock like that. That's all, and I have the right. And I'm telling you, as a man or whoever you were and your crew, that I don't rock like that. We can schedule things so we can fill each other out, but besides that, if we don't want to do it the right way and do things, you know, to get to the next level, I'm cool. Gratitude and thank you for sharing. I mean, thank you for being here. That's all I be saying to my brothers and sisters, man. I be like, man, I ain't here. Man, it's too much going on in the world, man. And like I said, for me being who I am and teaching what I teach and been doing it for a minute and traveling on my own dime, like I'm getting ready to go to Sacramento when I leave here. I know we can do something. I know it's a need. I know our youth is lacking. And I'm telling y'all, Kawanza Kunjufu wrote these series in the 80s, Conspiracy to Destroy Black Boys and Girls, and it's still valid today. I'm telling you, and I'm telling y'all, it's still valid today. So once again, man, all my information is in my bio. I hope y'all get with me. I love y'all, man. Peace.